Well, greetings, everyone, wherever you are, and welcome to Being Your Own CEO. Before I forget, I want to say happy July 4th to all of my friends in America. So we've in Canada, we've just passed through Canada Day, which was on July 1. So we're a little bit out of sync in terms of our celebrations, but close, but not close enough. Anyway, so I wanted to remember to say happy July 4th, 4th of July. So this is a weekly success circle, especially for solopreneurs. We get together because we enjoy each other's company and we like exchanging ideas and information and links and experimenting. We find ourselves giving and receiving lots of support. And I think you would like to know a little bit more about what we all stand for. And so you will see our operating principles on my website page. My name is Lowell Ann, and I've been in business a long time helping people get where they want to go. So now our viewers will want to know who is here with us. And so let's see, Roland, I believe you were the first one here.
Which is a miracle in itself. But anyway, hi, my name is Roland from MinMax Media, and we host the Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties together, Bill Graham and I, and we also sponsor the DIYLivestreamingshow.com website where we feature our show.
Right on, and thank you for the music this morning.
My pleasure.
I always have to giggle when I think of what it's called. So because I can't remember who came in, we were busy doing this and that and the other thing. So I'll just go in order. So Paul, how would you like to unmute yourself and introduce?
Okay, my name's Paul Murray. My company's TTG International Management. We like to change ideas into profitable action. I'm on the left coast of Canada, beautiful Vancouver Island. And one of the companies we work with is, I'm pleased to say, is in the last round of a competition for a $300,000 prize, and they previously have won a year's office space in an incubator in Vancouver. So things are looking good on my side of the world. Go over to you.
Right on. Good to see you here, Paul. So
good to be seen.
Yeah, right. And I guess everybody knows that Paul and I live in the same neighborhood. Although we don't see each other very often, do we? Except for here. So, Jay, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Jay, and my company is Magi Studios, and we help people get started in the world of online marketing through coach, consulting, and training. Hailing from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. And I apologize for being tardy.
Well, it may not be your fault. It may well be my fault.
Well, I was here early and no one was here, so I just thought I'd just.
Yeah, we weren't here. We weren't here yesterday.
So, well, I won't go into the reason why everybody is giggling, because it's just a long, boring story. But suffice it to say, maybe I need a new keyboard.
I'll wait for the movie to come out.
Right. So welcome here, Jay. So Bill, you're next in line.
Good morning. My name is Bill Graham. I'm coming from Belize, where I share the unbelievable truth on my website to help people make an informed decision on Belize. And I'll be monitoring the comments today. So please, for the people that are out there, thank you for joining us. Sign in, let us know you're there. I see that Tim Longwell is here watching, so thank you, Tim, for joining us. And yeah, participate by leaving your comments and questions there, and we'd certainly like to have your interaction.
Right on. And thank you for, well, I know that your Saturday morning Smarties, you had a big long talk about what Bill should be called. A wrangler, a coordinator, a manager.
It's all just a name, just so the audience gets to participate. You can call me anything but late for dinner.
Yeah, right. But thank you for your technical support, Bill. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Lorraine.
So, Barbara, how about you?
I'm Barbara DeLuccio. I'm from Trabuco Canyon, California, about a mile away from Roland. And my business is wasting all my money, not getting anywhere. Not on purpose.
Time to get focused. Time to get focused, I guess, eh, Barbara?
Yes, I'm working at it. It's just I'm ready to start earning money now anytime.
Right. Okay. So so thank you for joining us this morning, Barbara. And Alana, how about you?
Greetings and happy 4th of July to all the Americans out there, and happy Canada Day to the Canadians. Alana here from Ireland. I run EmptyNesterBlog.com, and I help empty nesters make money online. Back to you.
Right on. So what does it feel like to be away? I mean, do you celebrate July 4th?
Not really. My daughter wanted me to make a flag cake today. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't, even though there's lots of Americans here, and I'm a member of a few different American groups here. We don't celebrate it here, so to us, it's just another day. And same thing with Thanksgiving; it just feels like another day here. So it's a little bit of it's a bit of a downer. So yeah, it's kind of hard to get in the 4th of July spirit when no one else is. So.
Yeah, I can understand that. I would think that you know, the whole Canada Day thing, it's about being part of the big picture, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
Right on.
So, yeah.
So welcome here.
Thank you.
Same. Yeah. Heidi, you made it, even though you said you didn't think you would.
Yeah, but I probably won't stay up to the end. So yeah, I'm Heidi from Italy, and how can I say, business-wise, at the moment, as we go into summer, I try to rent my houses, my flats and my rooms in the Paradiso Integrale in Otricoli, and one guest has just arrived. and I will have a big group in 2 weeks. And so a little bit, this is a bit of a business, but normally I'm doing more or less volunteer work in interviewing people to important topics, at least in our opinion, it's important topics. And this is on thewisdomfactory.net. We have done a huge series about conscious aging. Now we have 2 other episodes in conversations that matter. That means a little bit about things which might be of interest, but not necessarily related to aging. Yeah, and then we will have hopefully a little bit of a summer break because it's really hot. Yeah. So
well, I've been noticing all the pictures that you've been posting on Instagram. So I love the fact that you kind of share what the environment is like, what your environment is like. It's really,
yeah, and I hope I don't bother too many people with it, because I post it then also on Facebook and Twitter, and you know, I love to share. That's really my passion, to share. And when there's some beauty, and unfortunately, not always the beauty I see goes on the photos. But at least it's an attempt to have other people participate in the beauty of the world I'm living in.
yes. Yes, it looks like a very lovely, lovely spot.
Yeah, it is. It is. Also, Italians, like all people in the world, do their best to destroy nature, you know. So, but still, still, it's nice.
Right on. So welcome, and we're glad that you were able to come, and we understand if you disappear. So Nathan, I see you're back. You've dropped off for a few minutes. Are you able to come back, or would you prefer to? Nathan's been having some technical difficulties, I think. So I'm not sure. I'm not hearing anything, so I think maybe he's choosing to. Oh, he just disappeared. So he did say earlier, before we started the broadcast, that he was having difficulty. So this morning we were going to talk about doing interviews, and I was wondering, let's say, how many people, well, first of all, how many people here in the green room, how many have been interviewed online? Yeah, so me too. So I think we've all had that, or most of us have had that experience of being interviewed. And so how many of you have done an interview, conducted an interview online? Yeah, so Heidi and Bill, and I've done a few as well. So I thought that it would be sort of fun for us to talk about some of the techniques that we use to do a successful interview. Because there are lots of people out there who are just now beginning to get into the video world and are uncertain about what to expect and how all of this works. So I thought I might share with you all a little bit about my process, and then those of you who have also done it, maybe you could chime in and see if there's anything I've missed or that you do differently. So I have a sort of a process. And by the way, I have done 11 interviews, which I have posted on Google Plus in a collection. And it's called Solopreneurs, What Makes Them Tick. So that's where you can find them all. You can also find them all on YouTube as well. But so when I find somebody that would like to be interviewed, I usually send them a written sort of a checklist all the things that they need to pay attention to before we even begin to go any further. And recently I have recorded instructions on how to be a good participant, and there's a lot of really good information there, and you'll find that on my website. It's right there listed very prominently. So because if a person has never done a Hangout and has never done any of these things, it's a daunting thing to be interviewed and not really know what to expect. So then what I usually do is I also send a list of interview questions, and of course my focus has been really more about solopreneurship, what made people choose to go that route, and what is it they're doing, and what is it they love about it, and so forth. So that's kind of what the focus of all of them are. But so I give them a list of possible questions and basically say, these are the possible questions. We in a half an hour, we couldn't possibly cover all of them. But these are, I may choose from this list. And so I discovered very early in the game that my participants really wanted to answer all of those questions and send them back to me. And so that was a discovery that I hadn't expected. And I discovered also that worked really well, because that gave me an opportunity to look at the answers to all these questions. And the things that were of interest just jumped out at me, and that's what sort of gave me a sense of what questions I would choose to ask. And from their perspective, they all said it was really helpful to them to fill in the answers to all of those questions. So, and that was their way of being prepared for the interview. So that was just a discovery that happened by accident. So now I do that and ask for that as a matter of course. So then the next thing that I do is I do an orientation. So we do a live orientation. And during that time, it gives me an opportunity to make sure that the person's sound is good, that the visuals are good, that they kind of know how to where all the buttons are inside the Hangout and all of that. So, and then that gives us an opportunity to to explore what the agenda is going to be, so that they know that, you know, there'll be an introduction, and then I'll call on them to jump in, etc. And what will happen is we're finishing up and inviting them to promote something that they would like to promote. So, and usually during that orientation session is when we set the date for the actual Hangout. So it's a multi-step process for me. So I'm wondering, for those of you who have conducted, what have I missed, and what do you do that's a little bit different? So Roland, I see you turned off your microphone. So
that was because Bill raised his hand.
Oh, all right, Bill, go ahead. Whoever was first.
Well, I wanted to take a step back, and I understand. I guess the first thing I wanted to ask is, how do people actually get people to agree to do the interviews? And I understand if somebody's selling a product or they have something to promote, then we can make it about them, and we can give them time to promote themselves. But in my case, I'm trying to get people to share a personal experience, and I'm having not having a hard time to get people to say yes, but I'm having a hard time to actually get people to participate. And I'm wondering if anybody has some suggestions on how I could actually close those deals and get people to do expat interviews, in my case, on Belize.
Well, Bill, I can tell you how I find the people, and it's usually in person. It literally, every one of the interviews I've done are of solopreneurs here in Victoria. So I have stumbled on them at various networking events. And sometimes when I'm doing my little 5-minute presentation or 2-minute or whatever, I'll invite people to let me know if they would like to do that. So somehow I find that if we've had sort of a real life face-to-face interaction, that they're more apt to say yes. What about anybody else?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can add to that. I think that the secret to understanding or sensing when someone will be inclined to is when you're talking to them and you guys have a really good conversation about the subject, and then you show interest in what's going on, and you say, this is really interesting. I think that other people would be interested too. And would you like to do this on air? And maybe we can share this with the world. And so the first thing is, if the person's not interested, if they're not interesting, or they're hesitant in any way, then that's a red flag. But if they engage with you in the conversation, that's something that you can imagine can be shared and be entertaining from the outside world. That's the person you want to interview. Someone with a message that will benefit people is the starting point. But then if they get excited about it, that's going to be that's potentially a good interview. So just to respond to what Bill was asking, that would be my.
I have something to tell too, as Lowell, and sometimes you refer people to me, and you said they might be interesting people to ask. And I also, when I read articles or books and they have a topic which I'm interested in, then I just write to these people. And often they answer. Sometimes they don't, but often they do. And I immediately say, would you like to be with us on a live conversation? And most of them say yes. Some don't. Some, but okay, that's what it is. And I don't know if we continue to talk about this, because I would like also to tell you how I do interviews, which is a little bit different.
Yes.
So I talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead, Heidi.
Okay, I can also go ahead. I thought we still talk about the present topic. Yeah, at the beginning, I thought, let's say so, the preparation is that I know already the topic of the people more or less, because I have read something or have gone to their website. Then I create the event page where I write something about the topic that they will present, and I know about their bio because it's in the event page and so on. And then normally we do, when they don't know Hangouts, we do a preparation talk, which is recorded, but not publicly. And we see how we connect and what we want to say. And then I just invite them to come a little earlier when they are not familiar with Hangouts, so that we have enough time if something goes wrong, and sometimes it does, to have them there at the time, and then we talk. Then we normally have a scripted short introduction, and then we just talk. We know the topic and we let the conversation unfold. I don't write questions before. Because for me, I have sometimes heard interviews, the people were talking, blah, blah, and then the interviewer asked a question which didn't connect with what they have talked about. So I don't want these interruptions. I want to have an organic following up of what we are talking about. And I say always to them, if you want to say something and I forget to ask you or it doesn't come up, tell me, And so we do it more, let's say, in a, I would call it creative way, or not creative, more in a flow way. And normally everybody is happy with it, normally. sometimes I also interrupt, at least I try to interrupt. Like in the last session we had, it was in the conscious aging series, but the person didn't talk about aging at all. So I tried 3 times to introduce the topic, but there was no way. So, you know, sometimes it gets better, sometimes it goes worse, but it is not fixed what we will talk about. We have enough time, we have an hour, and not only half an hour. Half an hour is a sort of a time constraint. So I understand why you would do it differently. And when you have a certain interest and want to know from them certain things, then it makes sense to ask questions. But in our case, is we want to know what they are doing and we want to learn about their subject. So what questions can we ask beforehand? And I don't prepare too much because I want to be in the position of a listener in the audience who doesn't know anything. And so I want to be able to ask the questions which are not too much in the subject already. So like a beginner's mind, you know? So, and I'm very excited. I always like to do that. And, you know, you see how I'm.
Yes, you're animated.
Yeah, I really love it. Now, I need to find a way how to make money with that. That would be fine.
Well, Heidi, I agree with you 100% because even when I have all the answers to all those questions, I allow my natural curiosity to take the conversation where I find something interesting. I don't stick with sort of a scripted. I don't go there. But by having the answers to the questions ahead of time, it gives me some sense of a good place to begin, and then I just let it flow. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm. So, Roland, you have done some interviews. What about you?
Well, the first thing I was going to say is that your basic format and Heidi's too, pretty much are good. They're both good, and you cover most of the things that you're going to want to do before the interview and during the interview and so forth. And it can't be too candid. It can't be too cramped. So being open is a good thing, but just being open is enough. You have to discover yourself as an interviewer, and then there's a certain skill that develops when you're trying to conduct a show, for one thing, which can be its own contingencies. But when you're interviewing a person, being able to really listen to them, tap into what they're getting at, and then ask the consequential questions as they're speaking, that adds to what they're saying and entices them and encourages them to expound upon the things that we want to be. So there's a skill to interviewing. But to just be involved with it, your outlines are really good starting places. I had a couple of things that I do that I like to characterize my Smarties interviews, because Smarties is a little bit different. Everything's going to be about the internet marketing tripod and the basic internet marketing, and yet I'm not really an internet marketer. I mean, I don't call myself that. So it's a bit different. But anyway, it's about a specific subject of communication online and producing live streaming shows and that. So it's always about some adjacent subject. So I don't have a problem saying like, well, why would people want to know about what you do? Or, you know, it's always a pointed subject. So the goal is somewhat preset. But the thing is, what I've discovered is the interviewee, the person being interviewed, often gets to the end of the interview and they said, crap, they never asked me about this and I never got to say that. So one of the things when you're going into the interview is ask the interviewee exactly what they really, really want to talk about, and make sure you cover this so you give them a chance to express themselves in the place where they're expanding the most, and they, you know, the subject that they want to explode on, you give them a chance to do that. And that'll make a happier interviewee. And then at the end of the interview, you should give them a chance to wrap up. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the audience out there? Something that we might have missed, or something you want to reiterate, a main message, what would that be?
Mm-hmm.
And just turn it over to them so that they feel empowered to say what they came to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's a very important aspect of the interview, is making the interviewee feel like they got the most out of the interview. And that's how you're going to get the most out of the interview.
Well, and thank you so much for that, Roland, because I was going to go there next. So if you've been interviewed, what did you hope would happen when you went in there? Because that strikes me as being something very important for us who have conducted it. What are the things that would make you feel as though you're, it's worth your while to do this, and you got something out of the experience. So being able to be able to say what you came there to say is definitely important. Yeah. Is there anything?
I remember.
Go ahead, Jay.
I remember the first time I was interviewed, and it was like a deer in the headlights type of situation. I was wondering, like, why do you want to interview me? How am I so special? Right. So it was kind of neat. And I didn't have any expectations at all, and I know someone, people who wanted to interview it was obviously a great benefit to them just to have that interview. And that's not a conceited statement. It was just to have that interview in itself, right? Because that's what this person does, is he does these interviews, and then he posts them on his podcast or something like that. So there's a huge benefit, and and I mean, it wasn't like a Charlie Rose special or anything like that. It was just a casual conversation, and and I remember we pre-prepared. He actually sent me just some of the questions that they're going to ask, and that was it, really. And I didn't have any expectations. But so now that I have more interviews under my belt, like delivering interviews, or I still don't have any expectations, but I know what's going to happen. I know a lot of people end up asking me the same type of questions because of the work that I do, specifically inside Wealthy Affiliate.
Mm-hmm.
So it does get redundant. It doesn't bother me at all, but I think that's something that one needs to be aware, is that if you possess a specific skill set that people admire and want to learn from you, then expect to be asked the same question from different interviewers, over and over again. So I think, with that being said, I think it's good to have a really good, not so much a canned answer, but a well-prepared answer, so that people see value in what you're saying, because it's, at the end of the day, it's the same answer, right? It's just a different audience. So it can pretty much be the same kind of answer. Well, and also there's just limits in terms of what the answer can be, specifically in my industry, right? In terms of like, okay, well, how do you get traffic to your website, organically? Well, here's what you have to do, right? Write an article, do the SEO part of it, So yeah. You could dance around it as much as you want. It's still the same process.
So, I get what you're saying, and there's a real nugget that you brought out there, and I just want to go back and point it out. It's that there is mutual benefit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah, without a doubt.
It's mutual. The interviewer is doing it for a number of reasons. One of them might be because I just love doing it. As Heidi said, I just love this. This is really, really a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But also because you want online presence, and you want YouTube presence. And I mean, there are reasons why you're going to do it. Yep. Some of the people most of the people that I've interviewed they said yes, because I offered them the opportunity to put that link or put that interview on their website, so that it becomes a part of their web presence. And so that seems to be attractive to some people who have never not done that before. Yeah, Bill.
Yeah, I agree with what Jay says, and especially in what I do, where I'm talking to basically newbies all the time, and they always seem to have the same 5 questions to start. It's very hard after a year of doing that to not almost have canned responses. But I try, and sometimes I do have a canned response, and I'll post that and then edit it to make it more personal, because I like to try and answer everybody's questions. But another thing I wanted to mention about interviewing people, and I heard it said that it's mutual benefit to the host and to the guest, but as doing these hangouts on air, we have to always remember that there's a third component, and that's our audience.
With you.
And I can tell you from experience that you have to be very flexible, in the sense that the conversation doesn't always go in the direction you want it to. And a perfect example of that was a few weeks ago when I was the featured guest on Saturday Morning Marketing Smarties, and our intention was to talk about my internet or my social media strategy. Well, the whole conversation became questions and interest from the audience on Belize and specific questions. So the whole conversation went in a different direction that, was more valuable to the audience. So there's actually a third component that I think we have to acknowledge. We have to accept it. And if it does happen like that, we can always, thank the guest for that, realizing that they probably came with 45 minutes worth of content that they wanted to talk about, and maybe invite them back for another session that we can keep more focused. But I think flexibility has to be something we have to be prepared for as well.
Yes, I see Heidi shaking her head. I think all of us that have done them, we get that. Yeah. So, Alana, have you ever been interviewed, or have you ever done an interview? I didn't see whether you had waved or not.
No, actually I haven't, but I'm interested in the process, because I recently did a series of podcast articles on my website. So this kind of contrast, this discussion expands on what I put in there. So I'm learning a lot as we go along here. So yeah, it's great.
Right on. And Barbara, what about you? Have you ever been interviewed? You need to unmute yourself.
No, I haven't.
So you've never been interviewed, or do you have any inclination to do one?
Maybe, this website we have right now about dogs, we may go in that direction. It's an authority site. So
pretty hard to interview a dog.
Well, it won't be interviewing the dog. we thought we'd start with people and then, work our way up.
that would actually be a really funny video. That would be kind of a viral, interviewing different breeds of dogs,
Yeah.
like Charlie Rose, like, how do you feel about being a puggle?
Yeah.
Yes. You could have a lot of fun with that.
Yes, have a bunch of them there in a group therapy.
Oh dear. So I see that Bill has a comment. Let's put that here.
It's from Nathan. Nathan's not able to join us. He's tried several times, but he can't get in. But he left, and I'm just putting this up for people who might watch in replay. He's put several links in there to articles on creating great interviews. So I just wanted to acknowledge that and thank Nathan for doing that.
Where did he place the links? Because
the links are in the VCP plugin.
Yeah, I see. There's a few of them there. Yeah, thank you, Nathan. We appreciate that. Yeah.
Okay, I see it.
Yeah, Nathan's been having technical problems from I think maybe his location is more what it is, what the problem is. Yeah.
And I would just say I've seen several dog interviews, and they're actually pretty entertaining. Maybe not interviews, but we have a guy in Belize that every once in a while does his blog as if he's the dog, and he says, "Oh, finally wrestled the iPod out of my human's hands, and so I'm reporting today." And people that can put themselves in the place of the dog, some of them are actually very, very entertaining.
So now, Barbara, you've got a bunch of ideas to work on. So I'm just wondering, how does one go about? Well, I think Bill or somebody said that there really is a skill to doing interviews. So how do we go about developing that skill? Anybody got any ideas on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think just practicing, like practice, maybe just start by doing webinars, and then also obviously watching other people interview. You know, I've made reference to Charlie Rose a couple times today, and I like the way he interviews. You know, I think it's a really neat way to you know, I like his format. Mm-hmm. So if you can pick up on other people's character traits or talents and piggyback off those and mold them into your own, that's ideal. Mm-hmm. You know, I've certainly picked up some tricks over the years, you know, delivering these webinars on Friday. You know, so and they're only going to get better. I mean, you know, we're going to this wall is going to be green hopefully by next week. So I'll have a green screen, and I'll have the ability to actually remove the background during the webinars, which is kind of cool. So, I mean, you know, it's little things, I think, you know, just practicing. And the more comfortable first of all, you have to be comfortable talking to someone in front of an audience or a camera, even if it isn't live, because it's totally a different vibe when you talk to someone or when you're on camera than when you're not on camera, right? I mean, everyone does it, you know. I mean, you look at the TV broadcasters, you know, and you know, you hear these anchor people, you know, these boisterous voice, "Hi, my name is," and then they get off, and you know, whoa, that was hard. You know, so I think if you can create yourself a bit of a persona, if you will, mm-hmm. I think that would be kind of cool. But really, I think just practicing.
Well, and that goes along with you know, what we're doing here, and that's what this platform is intended for, is so that people can come and participate and do this in a very non-judgmental way, in a very participatory, supportive way, so that they develop the comfort, first of all, and then the skill, etc. I might also mention, Heidi's kind of dropped off because she needed to, but for me, the whole following your curiosity and learning how to find questions, for me, came through my whole interview skills and my coaching. Because whenever you're in a coaching situation, you're always asking questions and trying to open things up. So that's kind of where some of that comes from, I think. So I see there's another comment which I will white box.
Yeah, this one's from Tim Walwell. He says, "Found doing interviews as an artist show that a lot of times the person I brought on turned the show to asking me questions. shows you have to be ready for pretty much anything with a live interview format production at times.
A good point. Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. And of course, we're looking forward to Tim's show when he finally gets it going. Yeah. So, is there something else there, Bill? I see there's your. Oh.
No, my apologies. I just forgot.
Right.
My mouse is like your keyboard. I clicked on stop sharing, but it didn't go through.
Yeah. So, and I suppose, going back to Jay, what you said, yeah, you know, as you gain your comfort, then being able to sort of figure out who you are and figuring out what your own persona is going to feel like and sound like and look like. Yeah. That comes in a more gradual way, I think, unless you've gone to broadcast school. And I think you have, haven't you, Jay?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Brad. So,
thanks, Roland.
Yeah, I was thinking of cutting in here just to remind people that interviewing is a conversation, but it's not like sitting across a table. So you have to be aware of what the video mechanism is going to do in the midst of the interview. And it's all about pacing and taking your time. So even though you get excited, you can't laugh back and forth and go, when the other person's talking and this sort of thing. And like if I'm interviewing somebody and they say something, I'll most often mute myself and I'll do a thumbs up or something, but I try to keep from speaking until the appropriate time. So there's a pacing that you learn. And a lot of this is just becoming, as several people have said today, comfortable. The comfort zone. When you finally get comfortable, you find that a lot of the skill sets and the strategies and the techniques just kind of fall into place when you are comfortable, because you don't worry about it so much. You have to remember a few basic things and then it all comes together. And I wanted to add the one thing that so many people forget that is crucially important, and that you and the interviewer, the interviewee, have to be having a good time. Otherwise, there's no smiling going on. There's a lot of dullness and so forth. But if you and the interviewee are having fun, that's going to energize the whole thing. And if you interview somebody, the point of it all is to be entertaining, educational, and a very plus feeling, very positive natured thing. So you have to smile. And so many people come on board on the video and they look like that, and that definitely does not help the production. So the other end of the coin, other side of the coin, if you flip it, is that there are people who have this canned smile. So I was like, and to me that's fake, and I can't. Posing on the camera is not something that I'm good at. So
that's the Bob Barker smile.
That's it right there. Well, now, Roland, what you were mentioning, that thing, when I was learning my counseling skills, those are called minimal encouragers. And in an interview counseling situation, they are extremely, extremely important. And so as a coach and a former counselor, it is so hard for me to cease doing that, because it was built in and trained that way. So yeah, I'm very
absolutely. And when you're one-on-one, it's absolutely important. And to show the speaker that you are listening and that you're involved in what they're saying. And then the essence of the video is that you can't do that, right? Especially if you've got 3 people or more. If it's just 2 people, it's not as bad, but 3 people or more becomes an issue. And we have to focus on what the camera's capturing. So that particular frame of reference is what guides the needs of what we do on the microphone. So I sympathize with you, because I'm an or two, but I've learned to like silence the mic and just use hand gestures, do a lot of nodding, you know, but we try to keep the mic very much focused on when I actually need to speak.
And if you don't mind, I'd like to just explain for the benefit of people who are watching and don't know what you're actually talking about, is that when you're going, you're actually taking the camera and the mic from the person that you're interviewing who's probably responding. So yeah, sometimes we have to get over some of the things we've been taught since children. And a perfect example for that for me in my lifetime was when I was a youth and I was playing baseball. And because I was taller than anyone else, they put me on first base. And one of the things I was taught from a very young age is that when my father was talking to me, I looked at him. But then I learned that when you're playing baseball and the game is going on and you're being coached, if you look at the coach when he's talking to you, you're going to get the ball in the nose twice in the game and get your nose broken. So sometimes the rules that we're taught we have to consciously break them in the video platform, especially.
Yeah. So that's cute. I love that. But Paul, what about you? You're sitting back there listening and intently. Have you been interviewed, or have you interviewed anyone?
Yes, I have been interviewed. I don't do interviews. I don't do interviews on camera, let's put it that way. Interestingly enough, a lot of the learning of how to ask the good questions, and first of all, I have to emphasize something that Jay said. Listening to great interviewers like Charlie Rose, you not only learn a lot from his interviews, but to watch them, to see how he interviews, looking at them a little differently, certainly gives you ammunition to work with. But you know, if you're in a social setting and meeting someone at let's say at a mixer, just practicing your interview questions on them when you first meet them, it does a couple of things. It helps you get into that, but it also engages other people to tell you things, and you'll find that you will stick out amongst the people they met at that event far greater than if you start talking about yourself. So it has these skills, and practicing them on one-on-one situations is just a great way to improve your skill sets.
That's a good point, Paul. Yeah, when you go to any sort of a mixer type thing, you can always separate the two out. Those are the ones that are going around talking about themselves all the time. And then there's the other group that are asking engaging questions. Yeah. And it doesn't take long to figure out which is which. So I see we are at the top of the hour, just a little bit beyond. So does anybody have any interviews coming up that they would like to promote? Or does anybody have anything that they, a parting shot, a summary or a parting shot they would like to share? So I'm taking your advice, Roland, giving everybody an opportunity to say what they want to say.
Well, thank you, Lolan. You know, the one thing that I thought I'd mention is that the concept of interviews is contributing to a couple of things for the purpose of authority building. It's building authority in the person you're interviewing, but it's also building your own authority if you're the interviewer. And you don't have to be the master of a subject to become an authority in it. If you're interviewing the right people and bringing that information to the table, people start looking at you as the authority. It's an automatic transition that you make. And if you're really passionate about learning about something, that's a great way to get involved. It's like, as you're learning, you're getting feedback from the pointed, targeted authorities, and in essence, you become an authority in the process. So it's It's a building process, but it's more than what you think it is, because most people think of, well, I just got to go to school and I got to study this thing and I got to do it. And that's not true. So you have to look at it from a broader perspective, you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So being learning how to be an authority. What you're talking about is just exercising your curiosity muscle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And having fun and enjoying, even if it's a hobby or a subject that you like to read about or whatever. And it can make you something that you never thought you could be just by being involved.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Well, I think it's time that we do a little bit of a wrap up. So, Bill, I'm going to white box you. And just to say that in today's conversation, I want to thank everyone who joined. And just as you can see on the screen, just do drop by all of the places that you find being your own CEO, and let's engage in some way. So then the last piece that I really want to encourage all the viewers on is to be sure to get to know all of the people in the green room here. They all have great skills and they all do great work. And I thank them all for joining me here. So let's see. Well, let's just say it's time to close now, and we'll stop the broadcast now.